Okay guys, so today is Monday and we're going to be putting this engine together. I've already got the crank sitting in here. I've got the bearings in, obviously. A couple things I wanted to mention. Make sure the oil galleys are clean, blown out before you put the crank in there. Make sure the oil galleys are blown out in the block. Make sure that the surface where the bearing sits is clean. You Scotch-Brite that real good. And the assembly lube that I use is this right here. I don't use the assembly grease. I think this is better. This stuff is really real thick, and I always prime the engine with oil before I start it anyway. So this is what I use as an assembly lube, and I've never had any problems with it. So Lucas is good stuff. So alright guys, so this is where I'm at for right now, and I'm going to be doing some things to the block, and I'll be explaining what I'm doing as I do it. So alright guys, talk to you in a few. Okay, so a couple more things here. I've got the crank in. It's not torqued down all the way. It's torqued. I got about 35 foot-pounds. But one thing we need to do is you need to use this stuff right here. This is plastic gauge, and what this does is it measures the bearing clearance between the crank and the bearing when you install the crank and the piston rods. It's pretty critical to make sure that your bearing clearances are where they're supposed to be, because if they're not, you're not going to have oil pressure, you're going to have noise, it's going to be knocking, and it's not going to be good. Another thing I'm doing, because this thing has metric rings, I am taking the extra step of taking a piece of emery cloth, and I'm going around the edges of these cylinders to make sure there's no sharp edge that can grab that wiper ring or oil ring, because those things are notorious for rolling up out of the ringland and then leading to catastrophic failure. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going around these cylinders, making sure that there's nothing rough that can grab that wiper ring when I knock it down into the cylinder. So that's where we're at. I got the crank in again. I've already mic'd it. As far as plastic gauge goes, we're good to go there. We just need to keep going, man. It's a long, tedious process. So this is where we're at, and we'll holler at you next time. Okay guys, another thing you want to do is you want to take the proper die, and you want to clean the threads out of the block for the head bolts. Okay, I can't really make you feel this edge, but you can kind of see it after I've used that emery cloth on it, and it really turned out nice. There's nothing the rings can grab on right there. So I wouldn't be worried about it if it weren't these metric rings, but these metric rings again are really they're finicky, and they're delicate to work with. So anything that they can grab on and roll out of that ringland, they're going to do it. So this turned out nice. I'm just going to clean out these head bolts, and then I'm going to start installing these pistons. So I'm probably missing a bunch of stuff to tell you guys, but I'm just trying to go over the main things that you have to do. And I should have done this before I put the crank in, but I had forgotten about it until I just, oh shit, I got to clean those head bolt threads. So anyway, this is where we're at, and she's coming along a little bit at a time. Okay guys, so I checked the torque sequence and the torque measurement on tightening these end caps for the crankshaft, and it says go 15 foot-pounds plus 73 degrees. Now I don't have a meter to measure 73 degrees, but I know that 180 degrees is the exact opposite side of the nut, right? And we know that 90 degrees is halfway in between the 0 and the 180 measurement. So if we go just a little before that, we know we're right around 70 something degrees. It clicks in right about 80 foot-pounds right here. Okay, so I torqued them all to 80 foot-pounds, and that's as close as I can get it with the tools that I have. I don't have a degree clicker, so. But anyway, so it torqued in right about 80 foot-pounds. You torque it 80 foot-pounds, I think you'll be fine. I'm getting ready to put the piston and rods in this thing, and just keep moving along a little bit at a time. All right. Okay guys, so my hands are all greasy. Okay, so this is what this thing looks like before I put the rod cap on it and after I've knocked the piston in. I've already got one in, one rod in, torqued down to 45 foot-pounds. The book says 77. This is the second piston that I've knocked in. And the pistons only go one way, guys. This notch right here, see this notch? Goes towards the front of the engine. So again, these little covers right here, whatever you want to call them, are critical, man. You don't want those rod bolts touching that crank at all. It will nick the crank and it will ruin the life of your bearing. In a few months you'll have a rod knock and you'll be wondering what you did wrong. So alright, so I just wanted to show you that, a couple of things, and time marches on. Okay guys, so got one piston left, but I want to point out a couple of things. You want to stagger the ring gaps on these pistons. So you want one ring gap on this side of the piston, one ring gap on this side of the piston. Same with the wiper ring or oil ring. You want to stagger the gaps in them also. And also, whenever you're putting this, whenever you're putting the ring compressor on the piston, you don't need to put it all, cover up the whole piston. Just make sure you get it down past the ring lands about a half an inch or an inch, and you'll be fine. There are little indentations. You can see this. You can see that little bend right there in that ring compressor, and they go all the way around. So what that's for is whenever you put the ring or the piston up here and the ring compressor, it goes like that, of course, but after you get the ring set in there, after you get the piston set in there, then you want to take your hammer and tap this ring compressor down until you feel that it's flush and even on the block, okay? Because it'll seat onto the block a little bit, and then that way you've got it square in the hole or round in the hole, whatever you want to call it. You got it level, and then you can go ahead and tap the piston on in through there. Haven't had any problems yet, so knock on wood. But fixing to put the last one in the hole and just keep moving forward. All right, guys, that's all I got. Okay, guys, so I'm sure this is the part that everybody's wondering about with this engine. When they're going to look at these 4.3 rebuilds, is how this timing is set up with this weird looking gear inside here on top or underneath the timing chain. Basically, this thing is just you got two little marks right there. You can see them. They mark up line the marks up the same way you do the timing chain, and you're good to go. You can go only one way. You put your new gear, your new sprockets on, and then put your chain on and line your marks up. Get your mark right here. I got to turn it around the TDC. Line your marks up, and you're good to go, man. Also, disregard the torquing measurements that I got off my Mitchell on Demand computer. Those were wrong, okay? And I thought they were wrong because the rod bolts torquing to 77 foot-pounds is just, yeah, that's way too much, man. I've never seen a small block 350 torque over 45 foot-pounds. So I called and did some discovery on it, and sure enough, 45 foot-pounds on the rod bolts and 65 to 70 on the main bearings, and you're fine. So I untorqued the main bearings and went to 70 foot-pounds and torqued the rod bolts to 45 foot-pounds. So should be good to go. I just want to throw this in here and show that this is how this gear lines up. You just got two simple little dots here, one on the small gear, one on the large gear, same as the timing chain. Line those dots up and then set your timing chain on, line your dots up, and you're good to go. Okay guys, that's all I got. I'm out. Okay, so this is as far as I've got with this thing today. I'm done for the day, man. That's all I can do today. So I got the pistons in, of course the crankshaft bolted down, rods torqued, everything's torqued. I put the heads on. I did not torque the heads down. Matter of fact, I just got one bolt in the heads there. I'm going to jack with it again tomorrow. I did get the paint on it. I put the heads on it so I could go ahead and paint it. I covered up the lifter valley here, piece of cardboard and some tape, and set the valve covers on it and painted everything that I need to paint black. This is going to be silver and or aluminum rather, with the rest of the aluminum parts that I painted. So it ought to look factory-licious when it's done. Hopefully everything goes like it's supposed to. Not every time you put one of these together things work out the way you want it to, but if it goes bad, it just goes bad. You just have to start over and don't get upset, and pick up where you left off, fix what you broke. Alright guys, that's all I got today. Upload this video and call it a day. I'm out.